What is up? We are back with another Best Bet show. It is Dr. Profit and Austin's Prop Set. You know what? Usually we have the guest down here. I'm switching you guys. Now I'm more comfortable. I am rocking all my teams that are not even playing right now, but Dr. Profit's rocking a Lions jersey. Austin, these are your NFC rivals, I guess, in the Eagles, right? The only two top teams in the NFC now. But this is an important game for the Lions and the Packers regarding the NFC North. The Lions 11-1, the Vikings 10-2, and the Packers right there at 9-3. They can really put the nail in the coffin here, in my opinion, today. We'll see if they can do it or not. But before we dive in, Austin, how you doing today, brother?
Dude, I'm excited for this game tonight. I'm doing well. We get a great NBA slate. We've been solid on NBA or NFL on the show. We haven't been able to do episodes as consistent with the holidays, but we're back. I'm super excited for that. And what better way to start than with a 51.5 point total? And we have Dr. P on the show. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I always get nervous whenever my Lions are on prime time. It feels like all the eyes are on us. We got to prove ourselves. Everybody knows we're good, but now everybody's watching us. But no, I'm excited. You can't not be excited about a rivalry game like this.
Yeah, and it's good that there's no weather. People like the weather games. I'm not a fan. Honestly, they're cool every now and then, but like in important games, like give me the weather in like a Colts Titans game that I wouldn't care about. Make it interesting in the primetime divisional. I want zero excuses. I want just perfect conditions, ready to rock. So, with that being said, the Packers are 3.5 dogs on the road. Obviously, over under 51.5 that opened at 48. Before we get into props and stuff, where do you see this game going? Do you guys like the over, the under, the underdog, or the favorite? I'll go first. I think I do lean the over. We saw a much tighter, lower scoring game earlier. That was in Lambeau, obviously. In the Dome, I think the offenses are playing pretty well right now. Jameson Williams, I think, also missed the last matchup. Their offense is so much more dynamic with him playing. I do think if the over's in play, I think the Lions do have a better shot, though, because I do think the Lions offense has more firepower. I think the Packers need to keep this game somewhat low scoring to somewhat compete. But I think I'm leaning. I think 3.5 is right where it should be. I do think the Lions win outright. I think I lean the over here. Austin, what are your thoughts?
Divisional games typically are tough to win both. That is something I know as an Eagles fan. We split those type of games all the time. I think Vegas sees it with a 3-point spread as it's probably going to be more tight than we are expecting. I kind of thought this line would be a 4.5 spread in the Lions' favor. So it being 3, naturally, I'm kind of leaning Packers to cover. I would say I'm betting the Lions to win outright, but I kind of like the Packers to keep this one close. I think it's likely we see them push that 3 number. I wish we could get 3.5, but I just think beating a team in a divisional game notoriously is so tough. So that's kind of where I sit with it,
Got to go against you guys. Got to go with my Lions. I think what's his face? Dan Campbell's record against the spread with the Lions is like 47-18, something ridiculous.
Well, they do win by like 30 a lot. So
exactly. but even when we were losing, we were covering the spread on the other side of it. So knowing we're at home, I think it's easy to get caught up in the short week narrative since it's a Thursday, but both teams played last Thursday, so it's like a normal week for them. I just think it should be like, in my opinion, it should be like 5.5, 6.5. I think 3.5 is way too low, even being a divisional game.
They are showing that basically in Green Bay, this would be somewhat of a pick 'em, maybe the Lions -1. So I think that's true. I do see more outcomes than not that I think the Lions are just the better team here. The Packers, I feel like the vibe with the Packers is we all thought they were going to be a dark horse. So kind of expected them to be good, which, we all thought, of course, after the playoff run last year. But then Love got hurt and they were kind of weird to start. And then we're like, oh, like they're good, but they're not like crazy good. I feel like when you think about the NFC, you think the Eagles now and the Lions. The Vikings, they feel like everyone's kind of think are like fake good. I think they're a good team, but this NFC North is just tough. Austin has a good point. The Lions have won 10 games in a row, right? You're bound to lose. The streaks don't last, and it is a divisional game. But something about this Lions team, it just feels like they just run teams over, and their offense is just really good. The one thing I will say, if their run game is moving, they're impossible to beat. The only time they've looked somewhat human is against the Texans when their run game wasn't that great, and the Buccaneers. So if the Packers can stuff the run, they may have a shot, but it should be a good game nonetheless. Let's get into props. I know that Doc loves a certain quarterback in this game. Surprised if you're going to guess who it is. Why don't you talk on your favorite prop for Jared Goff today?
For me?
Yeah.
So Jared Goff, 2 passing touchdowns is a system play. One, when he's at home in the dome, it's pretty much automatic. It's even more automatic in home divisional games. He has yet to miss in a home divisional game. He's 10 out of 10. So no reason for it not to happen today. The only concern, very slight concern that I had is when teams are in the red zone against the Packers, they have the lowest pass rate over expected. But with it being a divisional game, I think teams have to get a little bit more crafty in the red zone. And because of that, that data kind of goes out the window for me. And I think that's where Ben Johnson is going to get in this bag a little bit more for some Jared Goff passing touchdowns.
I also do
like a 51-point spread. You know, there's going to be points scored.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be close to that. So I could see the Lions scoring 4 touchdowns today. Easy.
I mean, they're at plus 100 on Caesars for 3.5 touchdowns. I think they're saying they're going to score 3, maybe 4, which gives you 2 rushing touchdowns or one rushing touchdown at least to work with, maybe 2, and still be able to cover. So I do think that and also with Jameson Williams back, they don't need to be in the red zone to score a passing touchdown because if they get a 30-yard bomb, those stats go out the window as well. And I think with the Laporta, we saw get a lot of red zone targets last week. I think teams know that they're going to run the ball down your throat. I think they're going to stack the box and just force Jared Goff to beat them because that's what you kind of have to do. You have to live and die by that against this Lions team. So I love the play. I posted it as well. It's coming out on Twitter later. I wanted you to talk about it first because you're the Lions fan, the Jared Goff truther. So I wanted to talk about that. What's up?
I'm also on that prop, and another reason I love this. Dan Campbell is a stat patter. He's trying to get his quarterback as many stats as he can. We saw it the last 2 weeks. He was throwing up 40 against the Saints to throw touchdowns. He's thrown 2 one-yard touchdowns to Sam Laporta last week that they could have just ran it in with Montgomery. They're trying to inflate Goff's stats a little bit to catch Lamar. And I think 2 touchdowns is a lock, in my opinion. Like, this is going to be a hammer type play. And Doc knows their stat padding stats. Doc won't say it, but he knows.
I think he's out of MVP. But I think it was because it came directly after the Houston game. I think that was the issue.
You don't think
he wanted to prove that?
I actually agree with that. You want to give him confidence. I will agree.
That's fair.
It's probably both.
It's a little bit of both.
When you're throwing up 40 against the Saints, like.
Yeah.
No,
I told you when it was happening. I said they're definitely stat padding because of what happened last week.
Yeah, that was a tough loss I took, so I saw that firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Austin, you posted a prop as well that just skyrocketed when the Dobbs news came out. Do you still like Jaden Reed at the current number, or would you stay off at this point?
Yeah, Jaden Reed, I posted yesterday early in the morning, got it at 48.5. It's now up to like 55, 57 range. What do you see best line right now?
I see 59.5 now.
Damn. Yeah, see, at that price, honestly, I wouldn't play it at even money. It's jumped 11 yards from where I got it. Yeah. I would probably go and look at the 80 plus. He's done really well out of the slot against Green Bay prior. You could probably get like a plus 220 number. I wouldn't mind half a unit sprinkled there. I just think it's one of those spots where that's where we've seen teams have success against the Lions. It fits the narrative where it's a high-scoring game, likely in a negative game script. It feels like a good spot. Romeo Doubs obviously out. Dontravian Wicks has kind of took the back seat a little bit, especially recently. I like Christian Watson props. Don't get me wrong. I just think Jaden Reed is due. And he's had 3 quiet games in a row. So I think it just makes sense to finally have a breakout here.
I agree. I love the Jaden Reed spot. I think Jordan Love's going to be throwing all game long. The one thing, even though Josh Jacobs has been very good and it was a great pickup for the Packers, Jordan Love loves to sling the thing. I mean, they love to throw the ball. He started off red hot. I think with the leg injury too, he's been a little less mobile. He wasn't really a crazy mobile quarterback before, but he's just been a pocket quarterback. I think he's going to be slinging it absolutely all game long. My favorite prop today, is the kicker prop in Brandon McManus over 1.5 field goals. So 9 of 12 kickers against the Lions have gone over. The only 3 that missed were down 15 at one point in the game. So they were chasing touchdowns. If this game is somewhat close, even if it's within 10 points, I think McManus is that guy. He's been terrific for the Packers as well. So I do think we only need 2 attempts. And I just think it's a monster spot at plus money. So love the short week divisional game. Going to be, great. I think there's going to be lots of scoring in the dome, lots of air yards, lots of ball movement. And I think they're going to be in the other half of the field a lot. Both teams decide. I think there's less punts in this game. Those are some props. Any other prop you guys want to talk about before we get into first touchdown?
Christian Watson.
Oh.
He has, let me look up the exact stat to make sure I don't get it wrong because I have it written down here. In his last 3 games against the Lions, going back to last season, 326 air yards on 70 routes. Last game, he on just I think it was only 60% of routes. He had 145 air yards on 7 targets. Last week with Dobbs out, he got 94% route share, so probably expect 30 routes today. If he's getting 150 air yards on that, his line's 50 yards. I laddered him. I did a parlay ladder with him with Jordan Love pass yards and Christian Watson receive yards because if he connects on one, you basically catch the first 2 legs. If you get a second deep ball, you're cashing everything. So I love that play today.
I agree. I think if he's just such a deep ball threat too, you're 1 catch away the entire game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're in the 4th quarter with 0. You have life. I promise you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I think it's a great spot. I think the Packers, it's going to be him and it's going to be Jaden Reed. I don't know what's up with Dontavian Dix this season, but I don't know what's going on in that locker room. But from receiving wise, this is the toughest matchup to tight ends as well. So even though Tucker Kraft has been, on the uptick, it's going to be a tough matchup for him overall. So I do think it's going to be a lot of Reed and a lot of Watson. Real quick, any thoughts on Sam Laporta today, Doc?
Dude, I can't figure him out. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like yards over receptions if I had to pick, but yeah, it's sometimes he only gets red zone targets. Sometimes he gets some deep balls. I don't really know.
Tight end screen that goes for 40 yards out of nowhere. It's really just what does Ben Johnson feel like doing today? Because you can put him in a 25-yard route, you can put him on a flat route, and there's no consistency to what routes he's running or what coverages he's being used against.
I completely agree. It's kind of all over the place. I think I'm gonna add him in a parlay, but I'm not gonna play him as a straight in my mega. I do like his yards always, but should be interesting. I think this game is very good for some lottos that people run. I don't think a lot of people force lottos, but I think this game is gonna be good for at least some ladders in some specific areas. So definitely gonna dabble in that a little later. But let's get into some plus money here with the first touchdown this week. Doc, you would get first dibs. I go second, and Austin goes third. Just a random order there. Doc, who do you got scoring the first touchdown today?
I'm going to go David Montgomery. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is in the doghouse a little bit. Dan Campbell won't admit it, but Jahmyr Gibbs is in the doghouse a little bit for what he posted on social media. Combine that with the fact that the Packers are allowing the highest rush rate over expected in the red zone, and the fact that it's David Montgomery. I'm going to pick the Lions to score first, obviously, over the Packers. So I just feel like David Montgomery makes way too much sense.
I like it. He's been a cash cow to first touchdown. I'm not going to lie. I'm going somewhere else. I'm backing up the Jared Goff play, first of all, in this. I'm going to go. This guy, I'm a fan of streaks ending, right? And when the streaks end, they usually end again the next game. So this guy's had 2 games without scoring. But was a monster in the beginning, and that's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to get a nice little red zone touchdown. It's not going to be a big play. It's going to be find your guy in the end zone, and he's scoring first. I ran about 100 simulations, and 104 of them he scored first. So I really don't know why they're giving us this crazy odds at plus 750, plus 800 on DK. That's a free square if I've ever seen one. No one else is going to score first besides Dave Montgomery or Amon-Ra St. Brown, but we'll listen to Austin in this time. So the floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, I ideally want to probably target a Packers side just because you guys are both online sides, but I actually disagree with Doc. I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs plus 550 to score first. Dan Campbell's a player's coach. He's going to back his guy. His guy made a mistake. Dan Campbell knows this team's good enough where if they have a few signs, they shouldn't let him beat them because of a few play calling on a picture. You know what I mean? They're going to change
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Was it on purpose? Fake plays.
He's going to get Jahmyr Gibbs his touch here.
It was a setup.
I'm all on Jahmyr Gibbs plus 550. I think it's got to be a Lions player. We probably have the right one. It's just who's going to get it.
I will say it's either he's backing up Jahmyr Gibbs so much that you're right, or it's so wrong he's going to get one snap.
Yeah, that's my thing. I could see it either way where he's like, all right, my guy made a mistake. Let's fucking feed him.
Dan Campbell's an extremist for sure.
He's a player's coach. He'd be the guy to give Jahmyr 20 touches today, you know? So
I don't know. Doc, what are your thoughts on that horrible take by Austin there?
Personally, I thought he was playing nice for the media because he didn't want to blast his guy publicly, but he was probably ripped him a new one behind closed doors.
But Jahmyr Gibbs is so fucking good that it's like
we love Monty though.
Yeah, but it comes to a point where you're like, okay, this guy made a mistake, but he's still Jahmyr Gibbs. Like
I honestly think it all happens if it's first drive, Monty scores. If it's second drive, Gibbs is gonna score.
All right, I did find this stat that I probably should have shared earlier, but Austin's play inspired me to go check it out. Red zone touches this season in the first quarter. David Montgomery has 16. Jahmyr Gibbs has 2.
I don't need a red zone touch. You think I'm taking that because of red zone touches?
That was a good response. I'll give you that one.
We've seen his longest rush over 20 and a half yards in 12 of 12 games, damn near.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. Listen, I don't know why we're even arguing running backs, because I'm going to Ross catching the first touchdown anyway. That is it for the show. Doc, thank you for coming on. Guys, let's cash out today. Hop on all of our Twitters or X's, whatever we're still calling it now, and just check out the rest of the plays. I'm posting my Mega Lotto right after this, so stay tuned. Peace out and best of luck. Goodbye.